Hello and welcome to the debut of Starting Line. I'm your host, Sarah Allen. Has there ever been a bill that's come up once in committee or was heard on the House floor, yet later seemed to drop off the map and you never heard another word about it? That's why every week, right here on Starting Line, we will feature a new bill, track it through the legislative process, and let you know when and if it becomes law. We will sit down with the bill's sponsor or sponsors and find out what the bill does and how it will affect you. This week, to kick off Starting Line, we talked to Representative Joe Mullery about the bill he's carrying to raise the minimum wage. Representative Mullery, thank you for talking to us about House File 10. Why are you sponsoring a bill to raise minimum wage? Why do you think there's a need?
Minnesota used to be a leader in this area on a minimum wage, paying people well. Minnesota has very good workers. We're known as one of the best workforces in the country. We also have a high cost of living, so people should be getting paid. Right now, the minimum wage is way below, in Minnesota's minimum wage is way below what the poverty levels are for even just a single parent and one child. So we need to help that. Otherwise, they have to be relying on taxpayers for other subsistence.
Representative Mullery, I was reading about your bill, and for large employers, you would like to have them raise their minimum wage to $9.38, and for small employers, you'd like them to raise their minimum wage to $8.01. How did you come up with those numbers?
I based that on going back to 1973, and we just took the inflation over the years for that. Minnesota was considered a really well-functioning state back in the 70s, and so business was booming, everything was going well here, and I think that that's a good place to look at. So it's just built on inflation factor.
And there is a provision in the bill that would keep up with
Right.
inflation.
In the future, we would build in inflation so we don't have to go back and set it all the time, right? And the $8 for small employers, we've always had, not always, but most of the time Minnesota has had a small employees exception with a lower rate like that.
Why is there an exception for small businesses?
I think part of it is just it's small employers don't have the cushion that large employers have. They may have a lot of people who are at that rate or something like that.
What is the likely path your bill will take? Will it be rolled into an omnibus bill, or will it stand alone?
That'll all depend on the fiscal notes on it. It's going to the Labor Committee. I've talked to the chair there. We'll be hearing it. From there, I'm not sure which committee it would go to. There may be a cost to the state, a small cost, but anything, I think they haven't decided yet what to use, but they're using either $1,000 or $2,000. That's the cost to the state. Well, it doesn't take much, just changing a few forms to go way over that. So almost anything we do here often can hit the amount that's going to trigger a fiscal note, and then it's up to whether or not they want to have the agency just pick it up or actually put some money into it. So right now we don't know until we get a fiscal note.
When do you anticipate receiving a fiscal note?
Might not even be by the first hearing because that's a policy committee. Then by that, sometime before it gets to the floor, it'll have to have a fiscal note, or at least a look-see as to whether it needs a fiscal note.
Do you believe the bill will get to the House floor?
There's tremendous support for this bill. All labor has taken a very strong position in favor of my bill, but even going further, they want $1 more an hour. Well, $1 and about a quarter. They want $10.55 as the amount, and a lot of organizations that help people, Joint Religious Legislative Council wants a higher bill than mine. Jobs Now Coalition wants a much higher bill than mine. So there's a lot of support to even go much higher than my bill.
What do you think the final shape your bill will take? Will large employers have to pay $9.38? Will small employers pay $8.01? Just what do you think your bill will look like in the end?
If I had a crystal ball, um, I have no idea what it will be. I've been around here long enough to know that you can never guess what's going to happen. Some bills look like they're going to have unanimous support and they die, and other bills look like they're totally dead with a stake driven through their heart, and all of a sudden they appear and they pass. So I have no idea. I just know that I think there will be a final amount set that's far over the federal minimum wage.
Thank you, Representative Mullery, for shedding light on House File 10. All right, let's go check out the plasma screen to see where House File 10, the bill to modify the minimum wage, has been and where it's likely to go. Right now, it has had its introduction and first reading. It has been referred to Labor, Workplace, and Regulated Industries, and is likely to go through a series of committees before and if it is put into law. Also, Representative Khan has signed on to be a co-sponsor of this bill. Coming up next week on Starting Line, we will feature a new bill and look to see if there's been any movement on Representative Mullery's minimum wage bill. You can always tweet me if there's a specific bill you'd like us to cover here on Starting Line. Remember, thousands of bills get introduced every legislative session in Minnesota. Of course, all of them first have to start here on Starting Line. Make sure to subscribe to Session Daily to receive updates right to your email. This nonpartisan news source employs a staff of professional writers, editors, and photographers that provide you with in-depth nonpartisan coverage of the Minnesota House of Representatives. You can also watch live coverage of committee and floor action on House TV.